You might have heard the announcement that Paper Demon is ending its hosting of ARPGs, which means in 6 months, Nomchromancy will no longer be a part of Paper Demon. I've decided to end my game and open the species up so anyone can make them. So Noms, Nopes, Mera, Gluttons, and all of that are going to be an open species that you can make your own OCs of without jumping through any of the hoops like waiting for approvals. You might be curious about why I chose this decision, but rather than making this already longer than it very much long is, here's the bullet points. I can't afford large payments like a hosting fee for a website. Paper Demon was much more expensive in the long run, but it was a monthly subscription, so I could do it a lot more easily. Nomchromancy was designed with Paper Demon in mind, and was going to require the battle feature to function. We never received that feature, so Nomchromancy never operated how I planned for it to. Lore Keeper requires coding skill that I just don't have, or would need to hire a coder, which I can't afford. I live off of ad revenue from YouTube, so most of the time I barely get enough for a payout. The appeal of Paper Demon was its convenience and it not needing me to know how to code. Nomchromancy hasn't broken even, ever. I'm not a billionaire and I can't afford to operate at a loss forever. I was paying this entirely out of my Patreon money up until this point, which was fine because it was a community cost to me, but I don't think the $60 a month from Patreon would be enough to continue to keep it running, and I think a lot of the people that subscribe to my Patreon would also like to see me spend that on actual bills and improving the videos that I make, the reason that they subscribe to the Patreon in the first place. The other issue is I don't like having people working for me as volunteers, which is why in Mera, before this, I did a lot of it myself, and why in Nomchromancy, I did a lot of it myself too. I can't have someone work for me and expect them to do it for free. That's stupid and highly unreasonable. It's exploitative. as the most important thing, it's exploitative. Running an RPG through Discord like Mera was in the first place was a pain in the ass, and there was a reason why I ended it with Mera, because that was never a good way to run it, and I don't want to have to revisit that. Most of you are aware that this ARPG isn't the only thing that I'm doing. I have YouTube, as I mentioned, which I treat as a full-time job, so this was cutting into that time, as well as that time that I could be spending with my partners. Since the couple weeks that I've known this, I've dialed back on my development of Nomchromancy, and that has made things a lot easier in my personal life. I've had a lot more time for my partners, which, I mean, I'm 33. I'm not going to be around forever, and I don't want them to remember me as someone who spent all this time working. By opening the species up, I make the species more appealing to a wider audience. It might not ever be as gamified as Nomchromancy again, but I don't want it to end entirely. Open species, for those of you who aren't familiar with this, because I know a lot of you come from Paper Demon as well, and you're not familiar with the species communities and stuff like that. Open species means that you can make your creatures however you want, without having to earn or buy traits. It won't be a game, we might do events again, but you can do whatever you want and you won't need approval. You'll be able to do things like make bases and stuff like that and sell them, and yeah, it's a lot more freedom for y'all. It just won't ever be as gamey again. The wider RPG world is also not doing great right now. You saw this mentioned by Paper Demon, and you've seen this mentioned by me on my YouTube channel. You might have heard about the large amount of game closures that have happened over the past few years since COVID. People just don't have the money to spend that they used to, inflation, there's a lot of reasons. I think Nomchromancy continuing would only add to this pile of dead games. So I think switching to open is a lot better than switching to Lore Keeper, paying all this money, and then closing it down later. That's the end of the bullet points. I'll add one more event and one more character of the month. But since the game is ending, there won't be any point to the rewards, so it's up to you whether you want to do it. Then the game will be discontinued from Paper Demon. You have the full 6 months still, so please take your time to save any art you have of your characters, as I won't be downloading a backup of the art other than a backup of the guides should we decide to turn Nomchromancy into a game in the future again. There are a lot of things I have planned for Nomchromancy, like battles, factions, more species for Mera, and parts for Nopes. There were other options like crowdfunding to pay for these things, but considering Nomchromancy wasn't making much already, while it was alive as an ARPG, I don't see the point in wasting everyone's money. The reality of it is, Nomchromancy from the beginning was designed to work and be a Paper Demon game. I think I mentioned this in my first video about it when I was talking about the Paper Demon sponsorship that spurred me to make this. To me, releasing it as a lore keeper game would be like making a 3D movie without the glasses. It'd be fine, it'd be functional, you could watch it, but why is there all this random flying crap going towards the camera? Even opening it up as a species that's open, it would still be like that. To me, moving Nom to lore keeper would be like trying to jam a puzzle piece where it doesn't fit. We could do everything we could to get it in there, but it would always look out of place. I'm sorry that Nomchromancy as we know it now is done, but the truth is that I was going to end it in a few months anyway. If you were here from the beginning, then you knew that battles were always going to be the big feature in Nomchromancy. Nomchromancy not getting battles was the main reason things like Nomster and Elder Mera were never seen. The battle system was going to be the main way to receive the materials needed for their evolution item. There were going to be different forms too that would have had effects on the stats. They were going to function like items like Paper Demon's weapons that you equip to change the stats. A lot of these updates were buying time waiting to receive that specific mechanic. So Nomchromancy never did reach its full potential. We were on life support from the very beginning. I didn't want to continue paying for another full year when we haven't received what I made Nomchromancy for. I don't know if this is possible to do on Lore Keeper, but I don't have the money to keep throwing at a project like this, and the cost would be too much for me to even think of crowdfunding it. If I'm going to sink that much money into a project, I'd rather make it a video game or something like that. I don't blame Paper Demon for what's happening, or for me not receiving their battle mechanic. Red has been going through a lot lately. She was sick and hospitalized for a while, and Nomchromancy was never enough of a moneymaker to warrant receiving special treatment. We all made a lot of friends, and there's no reason that needs to end. Noms made a lot of friends, sometimes literally with the Nopes, and with them they continued to push back against the gluttons who wanted to destroy their homes. But they always did it with an open and kind heart, often choosing to befriend their foes. I don't know where I was going with their story, because I never really started it, but I have a feeling that it wouldn't have ended in the eradication of gluttons and rebirth, but instead befriending them. I'm not going to say goodbye, because it's not over. So I'm just going to say, see you later. But who knows, 6 months, that's a lot of time. And maybe one day Lore Keeper won't have such a high barrier to entry. If that day comes, maybe Nomchromancy will come back and I might have even something better for that, even better than that. People talk about being in the right place and at the right time, and I think Nomchromancy missed the mark on both of those. Nomchromancy might not have been the right kind of game either. I appreciate all of you for your support, but as long as ARPGs continue to be expensive and difficult to run, then I think you're going to see a lot more closures than you will see long-running games. This isn't goodbye. I'll see you all later with the last event and character of the month, and then the species reopens as a new set of open species. See you later.